Coming up soon, Chris and Stu will bring you all the latest in boxing, MMA and combat sports from around the globe. It's Powered 4 TV's powerhouse, Big Fight Weekly, 100% live. Here's some of the best clips of Big Fight Weekly from 2021.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is episode 2 of Powered 4 TV, Big Fight Weekly. We cover it fast, quick, boxing, MMA, quicker than Phileas Fogg around the world in a hot air balloon, Chris. And here is my co-host, Chris Hume. How are you, Chris?
Steve Coogan. Yeah, not bad. That's great, yeah.
Big Fight Weekly, faster than a Lyoto Machida crane kick to the face, Chris.
Which one? Belfort or Randy Couture's?
They were both equally good, mate. I was probably gearing towards Couture, but you know he was aging as a fighter. Welcome. It's episode 4 of Powered 4 TV, Big Fight Weekly, with myself, Stuart Palmer, and my co-host, my cousin, Chris Hume, and we're going to give you a deep dive in boxing and UFC and MMA this week again. God, I couldn't get my words out then, could I? Christ alive. And I tell you what, I'll just get it in there now before I forget, quicker than a Kamaru Usman take down.
A double leg.
In a few moments, we'll be live in the studio with Chris and Stu.
This is Liam McGarry, and welcome to the Big Fight Weekly.
But yeah, I mean, I worked in construction, mate. Like, the recession kicked in and everything stopped. I was delivering TVs for this company, Fortuna, and it was crap, you know what I mean? But at least I wasn't so tired, so I could finish work quickly and then go to the gym, train for about 5-6 hours, and then go home, you know? So yeah, it was just a timing thing, and I guess it was the right time for me to go forward and pursue this fight career.
Yo. This is Stephen USSR Robinson on Powered4.tv, Big Fight Weekly, for a special fight at Focus with Chris and Stu. Tune in. Boom!
And the whole USSR thing was, I think it was just a gimmick where we thought, right, you know, turn pro now, let's go off the back of the red and yellow, the Ivan Drago shorts, Rocky wasn't a sensational hit. And I've been called it now for sort of 6 years within boxing, so we just decided to go along with it and you know, give it a go and see how it went. And it's worked well.
Yeah, but you do look like him though, so you can't get away from that though. Right, yeah.
I'm trying to look for a photo of me real dad just to show you I look not where my man must have been at a Comic-Con back in 1990.
Where Dolph Lundgren, yeah.
Brilliant.
He can throw a few punches here and there and not have that worry that someone's going to take him down, because you don't want to be, you don't want to be on top of him, or you don't want him on your back, because he's like an anaconda, and he'll find a way to submit you. And like I say, he's one of the best in the UFC with jiu-jitsu, and I think he's got most wins in UFC with submissions as well. It's an interesting fight, and it is really like a tale of Dustin Poirier's cardio, Dustin Poirier's heart, all that shit he had to go through with Conor McGregor. He silenced Conor McGregor, let's just say, in the last 2 fights, completely showed his heart, his desire,
And even Chael Sonnen has chimed in this week as well. He's going for Woodley to win this. How do you see it going, Chris?
Well, personally, I wouldn't go off what Chael Sonnen says, mate, because Chael Sonnen's record when it comes to prediction, he gets it terribly wrong.
Somebody said that all over. Yeah, I'm with Chael on this one, but yeah.
I just think he gets it wrong all the time.
So I'm Dave Faulkner. two-time World Submission Wrestling Champion, Tough 9 participant, World MMA Champion, and this is Big Fight Weekly.
Well, 4 people had staff on the show at once, and it was very close for the whole show to get closed down. But then they brought in this ginger girl who was like a life coach, and she was she told us to use PMA, positive mental attitude, and she said to, and I'll quote, she said, "If you tell yourself you ain't got staff, then you ain't got staff." And two of the American kids, get on this though, 2 of the American guys who had staff, who were going, yeah, I totally believe that, man, I totally believe it. They actually didn't have staff after 4 days or something. So it must work.
Hey guys, this is Jake Cross, President of UK Fighting Championships and owner of Empire Grappling. You are now tuning in to the Big Fight Weekly.
I can lean on them and they can lean on me, whereas Empire is just me, and I have a really bad tendency not to delegate. I like to control too much, and that's not because I'm a control freak, it's because if you can do it right, do it yourself, and that's sort of, I just like live by that, and that's why it's getting to the point now where Empire is an animal. I have probably 60 staff on the day, which I can start to sort of lean on and delegate, but it all still comes back down to me. If there's a problem, it's there for me to fix.
You like the younger version of Vince McMahon, Dana White, Jay?
Do you want to be referred to as the English Dana White? I've been referred to as the English Eddie, or the new breed of Eddie Hearn, which I would, if I make even 1% of what they've made, or even their success, I'll take that.
Hi guys, this is Thomas, professional MMA fighter, also ex-professional boxer. Make sure you tune in to the Big Fight Weekly this week. Awesome podcast, get involved.
Talking boxing, I'm going to say Marco Antonio Barrera. I used to love Ricky Hatton at the time because I was a big British boxing fan. And if I'm talking MMA, then I'm going to go with Chuck Liddell because he's the person who made me switch my boxing to MMA, and I just fell in love with the sport from then. Chuck Liddell when he fought Tito Ortiz, and then I was just, from then on, it was no looking back, and that was a long time ago. I started MMA when I was 31, you know, so it's like I started late in my career, so I needed to get a move on. So yeah, I couldn't wait around too much to see what was going on there, so I just moved on and got a few more fights, and then got HD management to sign me up on a management team, and then they looked after me from there. They got me all the fights, so I had some good management team.
This is your boy Chili Willie, ECW original, everybody's favorite homeboy, and yo, you need to check out the Big Fight Weekly.
Who does tougher training
on the body? Wrestlers, boxers, or MMA fighters? That's a good question. That is.
That is
Chili.
really a good question. That's huge, man. Wow, I would probably say MMA fighters, just because they have to not just deal with their hands and their feet, but they have to deal with the wrestling, the grappling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been a good long ride, hasn't it? We've had some absolutely fantastic fights, along the way since we started the show. You've got to jump out and say Brett Thomas and his constant Jake and Logan Paul, comments for the whole almost 12 months of us doing this. So there's been some sure good highlights.
Thank you to all the guests that have come on as well. We've had a few of them, haven't we? We've tried to mix it up. It wasn't just about reviewing, previewing. We've tried to mix it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for all the latest fight action. Direct from Wales in the United Kingdom, 100% live, it's Big Fight Weekly with your hosts Chris Hume and Stu Palmer.
I look into the mirror and all I see is failure staring back at me.
Warm welcome back after 3 by 8 It is Power4.tv, Big Fight Weekly, with myself, Stuart Palmer, and my co-host, cousin Chris Hume. It is good to be back, Chris.
Yeah,
get that one out of the way.
It's been what, about a month now, hasn't it? But what about that intro? Did you guys watching this? What do you think of the intro? We try to mix it up. We try to mix it up. Refresh it. Give a big more feel about Big Fight Weekly. So, love to know your comments and what you thought about the intro. But yeah, it's great to be back, Stuart.
A big thank you to Chris Dutton as well. He's produced it for us. So yeah, big thank you to Chris Dutton. We dreamt what we were going to do, and he's put it in there. Absolutely fantastic. Chris, without further ado, back into the fight action, and it's at heavyweight. There's a big debate across heavyweight concerning four guys: Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk, and Dillian Whyte, the forgotten man many times. He is WBC mandatory at heavyweight. But yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts with all this? Because allegedly AJ was offered 50 million. We've got a clip of AJ to show in a bit, but it's an absolute kerfuffle. This is why it's better in the UFC, where it's all housed under one umbrella. It just delays everything, just delays it, having all these boxing boards, as we've said before.
Oh, it's frustrating, isn't it? It's like, I don't get the whole rematch clauses. I you know what I mean? If the fight's close, then fair enough, have a rematch. If you've lost, you've lost. Move to the back of the line, get the next guy in. Having this kerfuffle of paying £50 million to AJ to him to step aside for Fury to face Usyk, or there's the problem with Dillian Whyte where they're not matching the purse between them. It's really frustrating.
That 80-20 in favour of Fury and White's getting 20. It is low. But at the same token, think how much money is going to be drawn with Fury on that. He's probably going to make the biggest amount of money he's ever made. But I do think, they are taking the piss a little bit, only offering White the supposed 20%.
What's your sort of aspect in this? And are we going to see Fury versus White? Or are we going to get a Fury versus Usyk before we get an Usyk versus Joshua?
I don't think, from what AJ's been saying, it's been misreported. He's not been approached about, right, you step aside and we'll have Usyk and Fury, as the video will show in a bit. It's just ridiculous. And, how many more years is White going to be mandatory WBC? He lost it to Povetkin last year, then he got it back. September 2020, lost it, avenged the defeat. He's back as mandatory. I mean, this lad has got to get a fight. All right, Fury's going to be heavy favourite for it, but White deserves a shot. And I know we spoke about it a lot in 2021. White has got power as well, but he shouldn't be overlooked for them to do Usyk and Fury. I just think it's it's farcical. It's farcical. And it's delaying fights. You know what I mean? You're going into some months of delays, Chris.
Well, here's a question for you then. Would you rather Joshua step out the way and have Fury versus Usyk? Because my feelings is, I think the same situation is going to happen with Joshua and Usyk again. And then this whole, the big fight we all want to see is Fury versus Joshua. That goes away then, doesn't it, if he loses to Usyk again? Unless, he can build himself back up and eventually get to Fury, if Fury's still around by that point. Would you, if you were Joshua, think, right, okay, I'll take the money, I'll step aside, but in the clause of this contract is, I want the winner of these two. So, in hindsight, we could end up with Fury and Joshua if he stepped aside and that was the clause. Because my feelings is, I think Usyk beats Joshua again. And I think Fury beats White.
Without question, Chris. But then again, it doesn't seem to me like Joshua would want to step aside for it. But then...
No, I get that as well.
Like Fury said last year, why would I want to face Joshua if he's lost twice to Usyk? So you've got to look at it.
The end of the whole picture.
Look at the whole thing. There's fors and against on both sides, as with anything. But it's just, I feel for White, if that was to happen, out of all of these guys, because he deserves a shot at the title.
No, I totally agree.
The man's been boxing for years now,
Paid his dues, hasn't he?
Kickboxing, and how much longer do you want to delay it, like?
Well, I think just pay the man, what's it? Did you say 60-20? Was it 70-20?
80-20. It's like it's going to be his biggest payday he's ever going to get. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, but 20 is an absolute abomination. The man deserves more than that. 60-40, 70-30.
Well, it's got obviously Fury's going to have the highest percentage, but yeah, it's a farce. I think just, pay the man, let them fight. Maybe get these two fights in around each other in the next couple of months, because then we can get the clear winners and then the clear picture of who's going to fight each other's next, and then we can get the world moving around again, because it's boring to see the same arguments and the same conversations we're having about let's obviously eliminate Dillian at the moment, but Fury, Usyk, Joshua. It's the same conversation we've been having since we started the show last year, and it's like it'd be nice if we can just get a full circle and get them in the ring and let them fight, because it's boring to constantly having to go around and the mention of the same things over and over again. Really,
it's absolutely unbelievable. Has anyone commented on this yet, Chris?
Yeah,
as it pertains to this scenario.
Tyler has.
Hello, it's Isaac. It's my mate from Norwich. We all know AJ would get walloped again. Let's move on. Yeah, it's a fair comment. It's a fair comment from Isaac.
Brett has graced himself with us, but Brett, I see a comment, mate. I've actually got something up my sleeve for that. I haven't told Stuart yet for this one yet, but Brett, I'm going to answer that question.
Okay. When we get on to that, yeah, absolutely. And here he is, Lewis up in Scotland. Lewis Young, how are you all doing? We're all good. We're good here, mate. And Ramel from the Philippines, our good friend Ramel over there in Asia. Hello, guys. Good to see you, man. Heels Rules, nice to see you in the chat as well. Hey, you guys are back. Hope you're all okay. Chris, we're okay, aren't we?
Yeah, it's been all right. It's been a nice relaxing, and sort of focus on things for the show for the last couple of weeks we've been off. So yeah, it's been nice and relaxing, but full pelt now.
Steve Monkman, good to see you again, bud. Anyone know if Jake Paul will headline WrestleMania and stay out of boxing? That would be wishful thinking, I think, because he's carving out a record.
Starting to encroach in my sport now, though, isn't he?
Is there any basis of that?
I'll tell you soon, pal.
George Panthers promoter in Virginia. He's been part of the NWA for many years. I've got George coming on SWP tomorrow. That'll be the next episode. We're recording tomorrow. Thank you, George. Chris Denton's done a great job. Brought our ideas to life for that. So yeah, we're really happy with the end product, mate. Hope you're well, bud. See you tomorrow, George, in the morning. Well, afternoon our time. Lewis Young, will you be going to UFC in London?
I'd love to. I would love to, but I think the tickets are going to go like hotcakes. I'll happily watch it at home. I'd love to do a live Big Fight Weekly for UFC London, because it's a good time, isn't it? Everyone will be around, and maybe me and Rommel and maybe Stuart, if you can, we could do a live Big Fight Weekly on the UFC London in March. The card looks banging.
Bisping was getting hit up for tickets because I was watching the weigh-ins last week live, and he said, just reiterating what you're saying, the tickets, because we haven't had a show over here for so long, they're just going to go, aren't they, Chris? In ridiculous fashion,
It's the ticket touters as well that get you.
Yeah. Brett Thomas, hello, Brett. Jake Paul, baby. Yeah. I thought you'd be something along those lines. Yeah, and I think we'll get to the clip now with Joshua, Chris, if there's no more comments at the moment.
There's comments, but there's something I want to go with it in a bit.
Okay, that's fine. But here's AJ.
About all these interviews I see certain interviews that quote what I said. I think to myself, I ain't done no interviews. Where did this person get this information from? I'm hearing people saying AJ accepts 15 million to step aside. I ain't signed no contract. I ain't seen no contract. So as it stands, stop listening to the bullshit until it comes from me. I'm the man in control of my destiny. I'm the man that handles my business. I'm a smart individual and I make calculated decisions every step of the way. Don't listen to the bullshit from other sources. If I tell you something.
And it was reported in the Telegraph, and we all know who the writer for the combat sports is. It's Gareth A. Davis. He's actually come out with a video himself through IFL, but yeah, it's not. They're reporting it, but it hasn't happened. But we're all led to believe it was happening. He was going to step aside, 15 million. But yeah, there it is, cleared up on AJ's side, Chris.
Sounds like Everton's managerial bloody circus going on at the moment. You know what I mean? All these new papers reporting this, reporting that. Gets on my fucking nerves, if I'm honest with you. Listen, apart from him swinging back of the chairs, I'm having to follow with my flipping eyes then as you're swinging back on his chair when he was talking then. But yeah, look, It has to come from him. If he wants to step aside, he'll step aside. If he doesn't, then he doesn't, and then we'll see the fight. Let's just get the fight, started. Let's get it booked. Let's get the announcement. Let's, gear to the fight. Then let's stop the talking now, and let's have it all, sorted out. I'm frustrated, and it's boring to hear.
It's just ridiculous because we're producing. We've got such a stronghold on the heavyweight division in boxing, and they can't get the fights made. And restrictions now, it's not as bad. They need to be getting it booked, signed, sealed, delivered. Get the first 2 fights done. Let's see who wins them, and then we can get Fury and whoever it is, but not writing off Dylan White there. He might upset the apple cart. Is heavyweight boxing at the end of the day. But yeah, I think that pretty much encapsulates everything as it pertains to that story, Chris. And I think we're going to move on to UFC 270 from this past weekend, Chris. And Francis Ngannou dominates with wrestling against Cyril Gane, retains the title. Chris, I'm going to go to you first with this one.
This picture right in front of you now, in front of everyone who's watching with us, it's insane in a way. And it says 1,000 things to me. I don't know about you, but I didn't see this coming. I didn't see the wrestling of Ngannou. Obviously, he's a very powerful man, and if he can get his hands collapsed between your legs, then you're going to go for a ride, of course, because he's powerful enough to pick you up and slam you on the floor. I obviously didn't know that he blew his MCL or his ACL before the fight. Was told by the doctors to pull out Stuart prior to this. But obviously he didn't, and that's why you've got the knee wraps around him at the time. This fight, for me, that was a tale of Cyril Gane's first 2 rounds. I think he did well. He popped and moved. He did what he always does with his fighters. He measures, takes his pot shots, goes for the jab to the kick to the body. I'm just stumbling my words here. And he made the space and he made Ngannou work. But Ngannou's not he's a powerful man, but he's not a fantastic technical boxer. This is why it baffles me why he wants to face Tyson Fury. He's got power, but when you're facing someone like Tyson Fury, if you've seen with Deontay Wilder, power doesn't mean anything. But he turned it around. Obviously, the game plan with his ACL, MCL being torn must have been at wrestling. And obviously, you saw Kamaru Usman who was in his corner, so they must have worked on a lot with Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman's one of the best wrestlers, grapplers in UFC. So you can see that the game plan is to get Gane on his back. I didn't expect Gane to be as poor on his back because he's got a few submission wins in UFC. Gane. I didn't realize he was going to be as poor. I know, obviously, again, we're looking at Ngannou's strength and his weight on top here. It's not an easy thing to sort of get out of. But I thought he would have moved more and frustrated Ngannou and got back to his feet. But to say this, I still think Gane outstruck Ngannou throughout the whole fight. And this is where it makes me think that I don't know if I feel like Ngannou won this fight, and I feel like it might, for me, I'm very close to 3-2 to Gane, because I think Gane got more shots off, and you could see it with the stats. I should have got a picture of the match.
I can read the stats here, mate. On 6 strikes, Chris, it was 43 of 104 Francis Ngannou. Cyril Gane was 63 of 91, and then total strikes, it was Ngannou 71 to 139, and then 79 to 107 with Gane. And then on takedowns, it was 4 of 5 for Ngannou, and then 1 of 3 for Gane on the takedowns. So,
and this is what I mean. What are we judging on now? Like, are we judging on the striking, or are we judging on the grappling control? Because it baffles me. Because I remember they changed the ruling so you couldn't be blanketed throughout a fight. Back in the day, a wrestler would take a good striker down with Nate, and they'd lay and prey on them for 15 to 25 minutes, and it would piss a lot of people off. I find it frustrating that we're looking at it as in striking and octagon control doesn't get you the win, but taking someone down and he didn't do terribly. He didn't do that much on the ground to Gane, if I'm honest. Great game plan. I was impressed with his wrestling. So Ngannou's, he's adding elements to his skill set. But
it was it was a feeling out process. I felt the first 2 rounds, and then you started to see that. Then they were trying to suss one another out, weren't they? You could see that. I thought Gane was going to upset him. I really did prior. I really thought, but it just shows that Ngannou, can be well rounded. It's not just, as you said, that one punch power. He has showcased himself.
And obviously, obviously we've had the whole problems with the contracts, haven't we, with Ngannou? And UFC put the pay-per-view up in America, didn't they, for the start of this pay-per-view, and it felt like a lot of people, and not me personally, but a lot of other people's opinions are across the YouTube and the social media sort of frenzy, thinking they were trying to purposely tank Ngannou. So his buy rate to this would be crap going into negotiation skills. His negotiation for his new contract. Sorry, not his skills. Why would he have negotiation skills? He's a fighter. But yeah, it's turned out now, obviously, he's going to have this injury. An ACL and MCL sort of tear is quite a bad injury. And he's only got 1 year left on his contract, which is January next year. And
so we're going to be getting into the interim realms again then, aren't we? In that length of time. That's long enough for somebody to become interim champion again. But this is the one I wanted to pose to you. John Jones has been very vocal.
Yeah,
in the last week or so about it. What happens with him? Also, does he have to? He can't go straight in for the title fight, surely, Chris. But it's the UFC. What do you feel? Does he have the tune-up fight first, or does he go straight in?
I listen. He's a former champion. He left the division as a champion. So naturally, in John Jones being John Jones, I think it makes sense. He would get immediate title shot. But obviously, we don't know how long Ngannou is going to be off now with his injury. Does he want to come back if he's only getting paid $600,000 to show and to win, which is not very. If you look at it, the grand scheme of things, it's not much, is it, for a heavyweight champion now? I think John Jones will probably think. I'd like to see, if we're going for a tune-up now, if we're going for that way, Stipe versus John Jones would be a great fight. For John Jones to be welcomed into the heavyweight division, because I think Stipe is probably a bit older, but, I think he's got a good test of skills for John Jones, if John Jones was to take that. But I'm hearing Curtis Blades could be Stipe's return fight, which, again, is a good
one. It sells. There's no question of that.
We've also got our own Tom Aspinall's been matched with Volkov for UFC London, which is a very dangerous fight for Tom Aspinall, because I thought he was taking it slow. So this is quite a big bump up. So you're seeing fights are starting to organise now. With Ngannou out, you could easily see a move now and say John Jones versus Stipe for the interim title. That could easily be made now. Because obviously with the contract issues with Ngannou, the injury with Ngannou, this could be prime time for John Jones to jump in, face Stipe, and defend that interim in the meantime, because he's going to have to, because if Ngannou's out for a considerable amount of time. We could see it. It's an interesting division now, because heavyweight is starting to pick up there, and it's moving fast.
You can go right down the list as well, man. They're all absolute killers. So I look forward to it in the next few months, absolutely, and beyond.
We'll move on to the co-main event, Stuart, because
there we go.
A brilliant fight.
Chris, I'm going to ask you, who won that fight? And also, the judges' scorecards 48-47 across the board. But your thoughts first, and I'll chime in.
I think 48-47 is actually quite a fair score, because, excuse me, I think it was a very compact fight. I don't think it's as close as what people think. I know a lot of people think Brandon Moreno beat Davidson Figueiredo. I think Figueiredo beat him, Stuart. He dropped him multiple times. I think he was in more control of the fight throughout of the 5 rounds they had. I think Moreno won. I think I'd give Moreno maybe rounds 2 and 4, but I think Figueiredo won the rest of them. I think Figueiredo was just on it. I didn't realise as well, he's a good one, Stuart, that when they weighed the night of the fight, Figueiredo, obviously being flyweights, aren't they? Bantamweight, flyweights. He weighed in at 143 pounds on the night, Stuart, and Brandon Moreno weighed in at 138, I think it was.
Wow, which is, it's considerable, isn't it?
But
you're talking pounds.
Yeah, you are, because it makes a massive difference. But in regards to the fight, I think Figueiredo won the fight. I think him dropping Moreno twice in the first round with those calf kicks. Calf kicks are such an in thing at the moment, but they're so dangerous and they can neutralize a lot of fighters. And they're hard to check, aren't they? The calf kicks. Moreno again, he caught Figueiredo a few times, but I think Figueiredo was just on it, and he dropped Moreno twice in the in the fifth round as well. I just think Figueiredo was on his game. Moreno was just, I think, a step behind Figueiredo in this fight. But as you say before, off camera, Stuart, maybe a fourth fight could be incoming in Mexico. So I hear
they've got to do the fourth. But like you said, as you said, they're very reluctant, aren't they, to do a fourth? You don't hear of it. But I think it's that draw. They had the draw, didn't they, as well? So yeah, you like to think they're going to do it, but I just couldn't get over the frenetic pace from both fighters, which we've come to expect from the first two fights. But just what a showcase of skills on the feet, man! Unbelievable. The punches, the kicks, the volume. I've got the 6 strikes here written down. Moreno, 105 of 259 on significant strikes. Figueiredo, 86 of 169. So that's the percentage. Moreno, 40% have landed. And then Figueiredo's landed 50% of his. And then total strikes, it was 106. Moreno, Figueiredo in 95 across the 5 rounds.
It's very close. It's very, very close. Listen, it's one of those fights where you watch it more than once, you get a better picture of it. When you're first watching it, you sort of, your heartbeat and you go in with the fight. The second time around, you analyze it a bit better. And you see where Figueiredo sort of wins the points in the rounds.
I think the control stats as well, the amount of time. Figueiredo 2 minutes and 18 of control.
Mm-hmm.
Moreno 46 seconds. So he's nearly trebling, him on the ground there. So maybe that has really helped, I think, to sway the judges. If you're looking at the stats, that's a significant thing where you can break them off and say who the winner was. So I think it gives credence to what you were saying of Figueiredo, mate.
I love the scrambles in the first rounds, mate. I love my grappling, so I thought they were just well executed. But then I'm a bit of like a girl in it when it comes to grappling. So yeah, listen, it was a great fight. I do like to think maybe down the line they'll match them up. I'd maybe not match them up straight away. Let's give Figueiredo and Moreno some fresh fighters. Let's rebuild Moreno, and let's give Figueiredo someone new. Obviously, Figueiredo was with Henry Cejudo, wasn't he, in his camp, and obviously was working on a lot of different sort of aspects of his grappling, which is good because, Henry Cejudo, and as much as he's an arsehole, he's a very good wrestler. Hold on, actually. There we go. Rom's actually piped up here. I didn't see.
Here we go. Yeah, Ramel loves his UFC. So, yeah, Figueiredo won it. Those KOs made the difference.
I think he meant.
You mean?
I think you might mean kicks. The kicks, there were a lot of calf kicks. Yeah. But like I say, there's those sort of kicks at the moment, Stuart, that neutralise people. We saw it with a lot of fighters. Dustin Poirier did it to Conor McGregor last January, completely offsetting. Absolutely. But they also can break your leg, as you've seen with Chris Weidman when you go for
it. You said about them quite a lot last year. They love throwing them, but it's the case of if they bloody land, you're going to know about it, as did Weidman. Yeah, someone is going for the shoot. Wasn't expecting Francis was the one who did it, but it shows in that fight he doesn't belong in the boxing ring. Yeah, reiterating what you said, Chris, about him wanting to take on Fury. Punch power, yes. Boxer, stance, movement, no.
It doesn't work for me. It's a lot of money to fight Fury, and it's the crossover again. I don't think we're ever going to get a big crossover like McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. I think that was a one-of-a-kind sort of thing. But it's money again, isn't it? I think Ngannou is looking at the money aspect. If he faces Fury in the boxing ring, he's going to get millions upon millions of pounds. But as you've seen, he only got 600,000, for the fight on the weekend. So I can go on.
What's going to happen with this fight to pay? He's not the only guy to come out and say about he wants more. And as you said, if they're putting a pay-per-view prices. What is it now? $80 in the US, $79.99, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a big increase.
What do you feel with this? Will it be sorted? Will they pay more? Will they have to pay more? Will people jump ship?
Well, Bellator pay more. I can give you that, but Viacom have more money than the UFC themselves. This falls actually nicely into something I've got here for you, Stuart.
Right, okay.
And I don't know if you knew about this.
I do. I've read about it in the last couple of days.
Just like if you want to read that out, this is.
I've invested in EDR and he's bracketed UFC stock with my partner Jeffrey Wu. That's not that accounting guy that Dana White was talking about. It is him. What is it? The Warlock.
He's got
the
a war
Warlock
in him,
is Dana White so poignantly put it. So Jeffrey Wu focus on UFC's ESG standards relating to fighters. We believe EDR can drive long-term economic value by increasing UFC fighter pay and providing them healthcare. Reaching out to Engine No. 1 to partner on this endeavor. Chris, what the hell is going on here?
Listen, he's got the pulling power and the money.
Is it an inside job and him and Dana are fooling us all with all their banter back and forth?
No,
some nasty stuff was said as well.
I think he generally actually hates Jake Paul. He's not probably the only one in the world. But this is a very good way to get up Dana's backside by going and put shares in the company that owns UFC. And then, I don't think he's going to have the power to sort of change anything per se. I still think that, Endeavor aren't going to go, well, Jake Paul's got a certain percentage. He can go in and go, I want Dana White and UFC to pay more fighters. I don't think it works like that. But I think you could have a say in a board meeting, I guess, if you're a shareholder. But I don't think it changes much. It's going to take the class action lawsuit that's going on at the moment. It's been going on for a couple of years. They're trying to change things. I can't remember who was in it now. I think it was like Kung Lee and John Fitch. I think Randy Couture was in it actually as well. But they're trying to change fighter pay and healthcare. I'm quite astonished that UFC don't offer healthcare or anything for fighters who have retired. But then we go about this, but all sports need something to have like a parachute for any sportsman that retire. There isn't that sort of blanket or safety net, is it? But I think healthcare, that astonished me that, healthcare, they don't offer healthcare, considering what sport you're in and the damage you're taking. It's weird and strange, but I can see what he's doing, and it is winding Dana right up. And this goes back into what Brett obviously said.
Right, Brett's on this. Right, here he goes. He loves his polls. We know this. I think Jake could save UFC and help fighters get better pay. Hope you both had good Xmas and a new year. Well, I had COVID. I tested positive on Boxing Day. Chris has already had it. So, Christmas Day, Christmas night was fine, but then it was 10 days of isolation because the rules haven't changed to 7 days. So I had to do a week and a half of it. Absolute nightmare. But, made the most of it. The darts was on, the football. So that's what I did. But, thank you, Brett. Chris? And then, isn't Jake trying to buy UFC? Hello, Carnage Pain. Welcome back. Not seen you for a while.
Yeah, it's been a while for you, Carnage Pain. My Christmas was fine. Just chilled out, just relaxed. I work in retail, so it's quite hectic over the Christmas period. So it was nice to get 4 days off over Christmas and watch everyone else squirm instead of me, where I could have a few beers. And obviously, we didn't have the football to watch, which is probably quite good if we didn't, because obviously COVID was impacting football at the time, wasn't it? So it was all right. I enjoyed it. I hope you had a good Christmas and New Year, Brett.
And it shows he ain't box office. Is that in Ngannou?
I think that's in Gane, what Rom's
right,
saying.
Okay. Well, it's going to upset the apple cart, that is, with him being involved. But there we go. Chris, mate, have you ever seen the Brazilian MMA called SFC? Been watching a bit. Isaac had told me about this last month. They've been watching it.
I've caught bits and pieces of it, I know UFC are quite in there with their fighters. They brought a few of their fighters over to the UFC quite recently, actually. Little organization, but they put on some really good fights in Brazil. To be fair, there's a few more. I can't remember off the top of my head. companies, Isaac, you should watch. I'll tell him to Stuart to pass them along to you.
Well, send them. Just get Isaac on Instagram. You can send them over. He's on Instagram. He's not on Facebook. You see, just because you can, have a debate with him.
Bob
He
them
loves
over.
all that. Yeah.
Well,
Are we moving on? Are we moving on to the upcoming fights, Chris, or have we got something else?
No, I've got this coming up, pal.
This is a good segment. This is a great segment. So yeah, we've got UFC 271 coming up very soon, haven't we? Adesanya Whittaker 2, which would be fantastic. Covington and Masvidal. Now I've been reading a lot of people are saying Masvidal won't be able to beat Covington after his showing against fucking hell, it's gone, Chris. Kamaru against Kamaru.
Usman.
A lot of people are basing it off the fact that Covington's done relatively well, better than others. And then we've got Volkanovski and the Korean Zombie, Chris, for 273. And then Charles Oliveira and Gaethje. It's only been announced in the last day or so, isn't it?
Last 24 hours, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, all of them for me look amazing. But if I had to pick one, I'd say in terms of beef, forget titles and stuff like that. It's Covington and Masvidal for me,
Yeah,
all of them, because we've been waiting for it, haven't we, for quite a while. Former camp mates, former teammates. They were Bezzy mates, and they've had there's been the fallout, Chris. So yeah, I'm going for UFC 272 is the most one I'm looking forward to.
I'm very disappointed this wasn't an Ultimate Fighter, Stuart. These two are coaches.
Why not? Why not? Like, it gives you that story arc aside from the fighters, doesn't it? Who were in the show trying to win it.
I think Dana White alluded to something about timings. They couldn't get the timings for them to do it. But you know what? If you wanted to sell Ultimate Fighter the second time round from its return, this would have been it. Covington and Masvidal. I know they're looking at Pena and Nunes as the coaches for the next series, which, it might be okay. But I don't think they sell well, to be honest with you. I think Covington and Masvidal sell perfectly. And you don't really need to give them a push, really, to have an argument or kick off each other on screen. So that would have been a brilliant watch, but unfortunately we're not getting that. But I have to agree with you. I look at it this way, and these are my opinions, so obviously you might not have to agree with me. I think Whittaker, I think it'll be a good fight. I think Whittaker's come back out and he's come back on fire. He's got the passion back, Whittaker. He's looked phenomenal in his last couple of fights to get himself back into the picture. He's gone up. He lost to Blachowicz. He's come back down. He beat Vettori, which, is no easy feat because Vettori was on fire as well at the time.
Vettori was smothering people on the ground, mate, left and right. Dominance. Yep. And then, let's be fair to Vettori. He was one of the ones to watch last year, wasn't he? Really came to the fore. And then, it's not a bad one losing to Adesanya. No, he was one of the best fight. He was one of the best fighters of 2021, Vettori, for me.
And don't forget, he went up to light heavy to fight Paulo Costa, because Paulo Costa, can't go off his wine, can he, to cut weight. It's true, though.
Yeah.
But, listen, I think this fight's going to be close, but I think he's going to still come away with victory. I don't think he's going to knock Whittaker out on this one. I think this is going to be very close. I feel like if he says he thinks of Blachowicz is the blueprint to beat Izzy, but I actually think, Stuart, Kelvin Gastelum had the blueprint to beat Izzy. Watch that fight back, because he rocks Izzy a fair few times and he had Izzy on the ropes, and Izzy was struggling in that fight. Came away with the victory, and he should have probably dropped Kelvin Gastelum and beating him, but Kelvin Gastelum's a monster, isn't he? He's kept on getting back up. But I think Izzy probably pushed that, and I think that'll probably be that could be a split unanimous decision. You say about Covington and Masvidal, I think Covington's is going to wet blanket him completely. I just think Covington is the next best after Usman in that division. Okay, obviously, I know we've got Khamzat Chimaev coming up, and him and Gilbert Burns are rumoured to be getting put together, which is a good contest to see where is Chimaev the real deal. But yeah, I think Covington's going to beat Masvidal. I don't know how Masvidal's going to react after being knocked out by Usman. You know what I mean? It can change a man. Volkanovski versus Korean Zombie. Very disappointed this is not Max Holloway.
No, man. Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame, because Max has been really good, hasn't he? Off the back of losing to Volkanovski. He's looked like one of the best he's looked in years.
Yeah, and don't forget, his fight a few months ago against Yair Rodriguez was absolutely amazing. And they're both so technical on standing up. One's very good at boxing, an elite boxer, and Yair's an elite kicker. And it just showed in that fight, Very disappointed Max obviously got injured. I know that Gigi Klingadze, who obviously fought the other week, Stuart, before we've come back, had an absolutely banging fight with Calvin Kattar. He obviously chimed in and laughed at this fight, but obviously laughs back at Giga now because he lost against Calvin Kattar.
Hey.
Hats off to Calvin Kattar, Stuart, because he was absolutely phenomenal that one.
He stopped the kickboxing. Chikadze was a world-class kickboxer before coming into the promotion, and he backed him. He kept him going backwards, didn't he? Perfect tactics from Kattar.
Yeah, I think Volkanovski quite handily beats Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie's looked very good coming back after an injury. He's been off a couple of good victories. I just think Volkanovski's too much for Korean Zombie. But hopefully we'll get Max and Volkanovski set some point this year. But I heard that Max's injury is quite a bad one, so he could be out for quite a significant amount of time himself. But maybe we could see Volkanovski if he beats Korean Zombie, maybe go up a division. We spoke about this in this last fight. Maybe take a dip in that pond, the weight above you. See how how you can do that.
I think he's short, but he's just so powerful. I think he'd be a hit up there.
I totally agree.
I really do. I don't think it matters about him being like shorter. He's like a Mack truck for his size.
Oh yeah. But there's possibilities in that, maybe Calvin Kattar could get a title shot after shutting down Gladzy that way, But then we've got Arnold Allen in that division as well, Stuart, and he's been obviously matched with Dan Hooker. Co-main event at London.
Which just makes you think you want to be there in person, but like tickets are going to be going like hotcakes, and then you're going to be getting charged maybe 2, 3 times, 4 times as much on the second hand market, if you will, on the resale market. But yeah, Chris Oliveira. Obviously, lightweight champion against Gaethje, where Gaethje's been fantastic. I think, does he pose a bigger threat than Poirier did to Oliveira in your mind in striking terms?
The leg kicks is what I think is what people don't really look at when I know a few people do, but they always talk about Gaethje's the chin and his striking. It's his leg kicks that are killers, Stuart. People sleep on Justin Gaethje's leg kicks. And Justin Gaethje's the one that really masterminded the calf kick, really, in the UFC, that people sort of took notice of it. He whips the kicks, but he whips them so close to you. You struggle to get, to check him or get out of the way of them. And you saw with Michael Chandler in the last fight, and he's come out and said he actually found that fight boring, Stuart, which is madness to think. But hey, brains of a fighter.
It was a war of attrition. It was a war of attrition. That one, Right, you're gonna have to extend off that. Why was it boring for him?
I think because he sat back. I think it's because he sat back and he couldn't unload. It's one of them. Listen, Gaethje Oliveira is an interesting again because it's striker versus grappler. But obviously we know that Oliveira is getting better with the strikes, and Oliveira, he's getting a different range of skill set with his striking now. A bit better boxer than he was, 4 or 5 years ago. But this is going to go to the ground, and I'm telling you this now. Oliveira is going to submit Gaethje. He can't get caught though, because I think Oliveira's got that chin that does get caught, and he does get put on his back. And I do think Gaethje, it's a lot harder than just think this is going one way. And I think it'll be close to begin with, but I think Oliveira will sort of break away, and I think he'll submit Gaethje.
Have you had any comments on this? Have people been picking what they want to see? Have you had anything?
We had Rom, actually. Rommel has just put one out here.
UFC 272 is the most intriguing of them all. So yeah, he's going with out of all 4, which is madness when you've got 3 title fights. But that the beef, we've seen it time and time again. Sometimes beef and all the stuff outside of the cage makes them more people want to watch, don't they? It doesn't necessarily mean because it's a title fight you want to see it more.
Well, you're going to love the co-main event, Stuart, if it gets booked.
Right, go on. Fire away, because I don't know.
Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier at welterweight.
They did. I read something, actually, now thinking of. But, yeah, imagine.
That'd be brilliant.
Man. What a card, man. If they
put them 4 people up to talk. You don't need to put any other fighter in the conference. Just put them 4 people up, and it just sells.
Nate alone, mate, he's just so funny.
And his last fight in his contract, don't forget.
He needs a big one, then he needs another big one, right? Absolutely. Are we moving on to the boxing, Chris? We're going back in. So last Saturday, Sunday morning for us. And yeah, Gary Russell Jr. loses his WBC featherweight title against Magsayo. Filipino, actually. Magsayo Romel know him really well. Chris, he was boxing with one arm. They said, and you could see, couldn't you, through how many punches he was throwing. Magsayo was doubling on him on punches and landed punches in the first 7 rounds. But also, Russell Jr. was on a 6-fight win streak since he's won the title. But the defenses have been very sporadic because he won the belt in 2015. And it's been like a year for each defense, where normally they're looking to defend their title twice, aren't they, in a year in the boxing? But also, he's had the passing of his brother, as Gary Russell Jr., and his dad's health issues too. So he's had a lot on his plate going into the fight. But Magsayo's promoter said he deserves a rematch. So it was quite nice from their end. They realised he was at odds before even getting in there.
Yeah, with the injury.
Volume from Magsayo, unbelievable. And he looked bigger, Chris, to me, Magsayo. I know they're both at the same weight, but you could see, couldn't you? He looked bigger than Gary Russell. But yeah, all I can see there is that they will have a rematch. Feel for him a little bit.
Yeah,
I feel for him a little bit of everything going on before he's even gone into box.
As you actually nicely put about Magsayo's volume was incredible, Stuart, and the pace, the jabs and the straight hooks he was throwing at Russell. But I loved Russell before his injury. You know what I mean? It looks like he's getting peppered by Magsayo, but the slips and the rips, the slipping of and the head movement, Magsayo strikes. Because again, like I say, you think that Magsayo, to an untrained eye, is hitting George Russell all these hits, especially in the first couple of rounds. But if you watch it very closely, Stuart, George Russell is slipping a lot of those fights with his head movement. But as you say, interesting fight. But you saw that injury happen, and you just saw the change of fortune then. And obviously, he couldn't throw a jab, really, could he? He couldn't throw a hook.
No,
he was struggling with his head movement then because obviously he was in pain.
What heart from the man, though. When you're hamping, you're on one hand and one arm, and it was an incredible fight from him, man. Magsayo, he still had to box, he still had to beat him, but I just hope they get a rematch, Chris.
Well, if he listen, if you say Magsayo people have called, then I think it's fair. The man got injured, which again is one of those unfortunate things that happens during fights. So I think it'd be fair to give him a rematch and do it again and have a proper fight with no injury, and then you can really determine who's the better fighter out of the both of them. Then
absolutely.
And Romel's jumped in here.
Here we go. Yes, this is what I wanted actually. A fellow Filipino who's now WBC champion at featherweight as well. So fantastic. Not taking anything away from him. And the heart of Gary Russell with one arm, as I say, amazing. But yeah, I'm all Magsayo in that fight, but I'm going to say it. I almost called it a draw, even though Russell was injured. Russell is hitting Magsayo clean. Right, no, it's a good note. No, thank you for your comment there, Romel. I knew you'd have something to say on this one with your fellow native fighter.
Yeah, well, injuries screw a lot of things up, don't they, in fights? Luckily, at least he didn't get finished once he got his injury. You've seen a lot of fighters, and I've seen especially in MMA, when they've got injured in a fight and they carry on and they get stopped. And and then that sort of ruins the rematch then, doesn't it, really? If they get a rematch. So, tops for George Russell to carry on with the fight with that injury. Absolutely. But yeah, it was a really good fight as well, Stuart. Not watched any of them before, so it was really intriguing for me to watch.
I have to say, he's only managed to defend the belts once a year. Obviously, COVID, another, that was later on. But even it was always one defense. I should have looked if he was injured and stuff. Maybe he was, because he hasn't been as frequent. But he still made 6 defenses of the belt. Alunga Makabu's fighting this week. I know there was a lot of talk in 21 at the back end that was saying about Canelo Alvarez fighting him. Going up into that division, which Canelo, I still had him as my fighter of the year, especially in boxing. That'll be interesting. And Sergio Martinez, who's well into his 40s, he's fighting tonight against a British fighter. The name eludes me. He's well into his 40s. He was world champion. Some of our British fighters went over when he was at peak to fight him as well. Matthew Macklin fought him. Martinez is a good boxer, but yeah, 46, Chris. He's got the hunger to go back in there. So the same age as Anderson Silva. You know,
10 years. 10 years on us, that's Stuart.
I know. That's tonight, that as well. I noticed. So yeah, that'll be interesting. We'll have to look out for that one. See how he gets on tonight. And,
I think you've got something to plug, haven't you, Stuart?
Oh yeah, RCWA. So yes, roll the footage, Chris, and I'll come back at the back end. Just
I have held championships in 4 different continents.
3-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion.
2-time Best in the Super Junior winner.
The Rev Pro Triple Crown Champion.
Never openweight champion. I won the New Japan Cup.
New Japan Heavyweight Champion. Oh, and we can't forget
at our main event of the Tokyo Dome. I'm going from Okada to Paul Robinson, partly because I miss home. There's nothing more humbling than coming home.
When you come home, your big brother, he's always gonna bully you.
But the only difference is little brother will pick you up again and remind you who you are and where you belong.
Sir Will Ospreay, Bill, Susan, for you, the bad times are coming.
For 1 month free at powerful.tv. So yeah, Will Ospreay, who's been so fantastic in Japan, you know, multiple-time champion over there. He's coming back to our shores to take on former partner, former friend, Paul Robinson. So yeah, 1 month free with the code RCAA. There we go. But yeah, Chris, anything
was he hanging around Colne Bay Pier with that promo?
No, he's down. I think probably Southend. I think.
Looked a bit cold for his skinhead, that, didn't it?
But yeah, there we go. Yeah, 1 month free with the code RCAA. Sergio Martinez is one of my all-time favorite boxers. He was fantastic. 10, 15 years ago. No question there. He was a brilliant fighter. But yeah, good to see how he gets on tonight, Ramel, to be fair. Anything else, Chris, with the UFC before we go?
Well, no. Obviously, we've had a few fight announcements, haven't we, recently? Just thinking of the UK fights. We've had Molly McCann's fights announcement. Paddy's fight's been announced. Obviously, Arnold Allen's fight's been announced. It's nice to see UFC getting back to the UK. We want to see a bit more fighters. I know Jack Shaw's on the card. Mason Jones didn't make it. He's still injured.
Right, okay.
He has sent like an Instagram video to why he's not on the card. But yeah, listen, it's nice to get back into doing this again. I feel like we're on the cliff edge of some amazing fights that are coming up. You know, next week we have Jack Madison versus Sean Strickland. Obviously, UFC not on this week. And after that, it's Izzy versus Whittaker too. So it's full steam ahead when it comes to UFC. And
we've got Eubank Jr. versus Liam Williams as well, which was meant to happen in December. Obviously got cancelled. So yeah, February 5th for that. And our good friend Steve Robinson will be on the undercard. Not sure who his opponent is, but I'm thinking maybe we can get him on maybe a week or two after the fight, because he's going to be going into fight week now, isn't he? So he's going to be busy. But yeah, we'll reach out to Steve, won't we, Chris? Because we had fun with Steve last year.
Oh yeah, I don't think he wants us pecking his head before a fight.
No, probably not. And then Khan and Kell Brook finally. I mean, you know, we said about the years of waiting for it, but yeah, February the 19th for that one, which is I'm still looking forward to that because there's a lot of beef, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, some good, real good cards coming up.
Actually,
on the precipice.
I'm just looking here. Well, we've obviously going in Feb, Stuart. We've got Whittaker versus Adesanya 2. We've got Dos Anjos versus Fizet. I don't know if you've seen Fizet before, but he's really, really good, Stuart, up and comer. We've got Dariush versus Makhachev. So we're going to really find.
Forward to that. We were looking forward to that when it got announced.
And just think, and then straight into March, it's Kobe Covington versus Masvidal. Obviously, we're still waiting on Poirier versus Diaz to see if that's the co-main event. Yeah, and then Stuart, 19th of March, we've got the London card. After that, we've got Blachowicz versus Rakic, which I think that determines then who's going to be fighting.
Yeah.
Yuri Prochazka and Glover Teixeira. I thought his name went out of my head, and how can I forget the champion? That fight's been announced. I think they're fighting in May. So, you know, there's a lot of fights that have been, have been jumping out recently. So Really looking forward to all these fights, Stuart. Also, like I said, I'm going to go back to the London card quickly. It's nice that we can watch a fight in a normal time, and actually, don't really sit and watch it.
Absolutely, yeah. Saying that though, Chris, they had done well doing the Vegas cards earlier, hadn't they?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of Vegas cards at the Apex where they had moved them, which was good, wasn't it? You know, but yeah, it'll be nice to have it even more so on a normal UK time. And yeah, so hopefully Ton Aspinall, it is his time and he can get past Volkov. But we know how well equipped Volkov is. You know, he's a fantastic fighter as well. But now or never, I guess, Chris.
Well, I always thought he wasn't. I didn't think he was going to rush. I knew that they had it with another fighter because I think originally they were doing Darren Till versus why is his name got my head? Uriah Hall. Sorry, that was going to be the main event for London, but they've scrapped that now. Apparently, Darren Till's not fully ready yet.
Right,
but which is fair enough. You know what I mean? He's coming off the back-to-back losses, isn't he? So, you know, maybe he just needs to get his head straight, get through his injury, and then maybe pop him on a fight night card somewhere in America. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I mean, there's a lot of good Welsh fighters coming through. Like I say, Mason Jones, there's Jack Shaw. He's had obviously a change of opponent because he's meant to face Nurmagomedov's cousin, I think it was, twice now, and then it's fallen through. So he's fighting somebody else. I can't for the love of money remember who it was he's fighting against. But really, it's a really interesting fight coming up, Stuart.
Absolutely.
Leon Edwards is getting his longer-weighted title shot against Usman. I don't know a date yet. I think Dana White came out and said summertime for Usman for when he comes back, which is fair enough because he did fight 3 times last year, more so than any other champion. And then he put a show on every single fight he had.
Absolutely, yeah.
So something to look forward to.
Quite a 4, 5, 6 months then, Chris. When you think about it, it's just card after card, and it's going to be incredible. And we look forward. Leave before we depart. Anything else?
Well, obviously, I was going to say you're probably going to have to sprinkle some Jake Paul somewhere in there, aren't you, for a fight? Because I'm sure I did hear that he's in talks with PFL, which is another MMA organization to go into MMA. I'm not. Just leave our sports alone, please.
Brett will be happy. That's the main thing. We'll have plenty of comments from Brett when that all comes, through the old grapevine, and it's
100%.
But just good to be back for episode 44, Chris. And do you know what? It was nice putting some old episodes, the interview episodes, up through Christmas while we were off. It was nice to do that. And obviously we got the intro countdown as a trailer on Spotify now, so it's at the top of the page. That's our trailer. Right. So that's nice. And I think that's it, mate. I think we've covered everything.
Hold on. Well, actually, why we've been off, we've ventured into Twitter finally. So we've got a Twitter account. We've got an Instagram. Stuart's mad on TikTok, so he's organising a TikTok account. All the links to our Twitter, our Facebook, our very own YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, Apple, Spotify, they're all in the links in the description. So if you want to watch back on old stuff, you can go on Powered 4's YouTube channel. All our old episodes are still on there, as well as this one currently we're filming. But come and join us. If you want to carry on after the show's finished and you got something else to say, click on one of those links or any of our social medias and, drop us a message.
Absolutely. Well done there, Chris, getting all the socials in. Yeah, that's good. And we will see you next week. Don't know a date yet, Chris. I need to have a look through. But it might be Monday. Because I'm having to work Tuesday now. It was going to be Tuesday. But,
right.
We'll be back. We'll be back next week. We are back. And as Chris says, if you've got some opinions and you want conversations, post to the pages if you'd like. It's all about, there's so much going on. Fight-wise, it's going to be amazing. So, we implore you to do that. We like the interactivity with you guys. So, absolutely. We will see you next week. It'll be episode 45 of Powered4.tv Big Fight Weekly with myself, Stuart Palmer, and my co-host and cousin, Chris Hume. All good.
See you later.